I was reflecting as we started, as we mentioned, some of us went to see Venerable Tenzin Priyadarshi on the weekend. And he said, he's talking about when you take refuge and you say this prayer of refuge, I mean, you should be shouting it, enthusiastic about it. What a precious gift we have to have this opportunity to practice. And to have something we can rely upon. It's really a gift to be here. So, we are entering the Bodhisattva path. We're on the level of motivation of the advanced practitioner. We are entering this Mahayana door. And as we talked about last week, we really covered what are the benefits? Why would we enter this door? What is the purpose? Are we going to put any effort into something we really don't see a clear purpose for? So that's we spent a real nice bit of time on the benefits of bodhicitta. And so today we're going to start to touch on that path. We're going to start to touch on that path. And hopefully we'll have a bit of more of a discussion. We'll see how that works out. This is not something I want to rush. The teachings on bodhicitta within this context, within the Lamrim Chenmo that we are going through, provides two approaches. The first one is what's called a 7-point cause and effect, and that's what we're going to enter into, these 7 points of cause and effect. And essentially, the way it's described, there's these 6 realizations, 6 causes that lead to one result. And that result is bodhicitta. But there's a point 0. So it's really kind of like 7 and then 8. And as we enter that, we want to understand first off this idea of bodhicitta. If we remember, what is it? It's got 2 parts. 2 parts. Maybe remember one of those parts? Yeah. You know them both. Well, help us out.
Enlightenment and the benefit of all living beings.
Yes.
All beings.
So what about enlightenment?
The benefit of all beings. It has to come through enlightenment to then be of maximum benefit.
This is true. This is true. So I'm just going to rephrase it a bit. But you're nailing it. So the first part is that there has to be a desire to achieve full, complete enlightenment. There has to be the desire, the effort and commitment and inspiration to become fully enlightened, to not just be liberated, not just be free, but to be free and fully enlightened. And the other piece is, as we mentioned, to help others, a really heartfelt, to our bone desire to really help others not suffer, to bring them along. So they say that, if I'm just looking for enlightenment, then yeah, I got to help others, That's not going to work so well. And I really want to help others, but I really don't know about this enlightenment thing. They're both okay, they're both good, but they're not bodhicitta. Bodhicitta is the combination of these two. It's this idea that I can become enlightened. We have to have that idea first, and that I'm willing to engage in this path to become enlightened, to be liberated, to not be impelled by karma and afflictions and birth after birth and impulse and desire and attachment and aversion and stress and worry and fear again and again and again. And not only do I not want to be like that, I look at everybody else and I see them caught. And so the same level of desire myself I really want to bring to others. And so it's often described as the entry gate into the Buddhist path, the real entry gate, the real, you're on the path of accumulation when? Is when we've cultivated with renunciation. So that's really where I think most of us are. And so even though we're going through the Lamrim and we're going through all these preliminary practices, preparatory practices, the foundations of the path, the initial scope, the intermediate scope, the great scope, we're given this whole view of the whole path to enlightenment for the highest level practitioner and for the person who cracked their first book. And maybe we're here. What we want to do is go through this whole breadth so we can see a big overview. It's like a big map. And go, okay, I see where Connecticut is, And it's hard to get there without a map. Okay? But I'm not there yet. And, I'm here in Colorado, right? I'm in Colorado. That's right. And so as we go through this, it's also not unhealthy at all to do some of these practices in this path, but focus primarily on where we're at. So maybe we're more at renunciation, but what I'm going to be talking about today would be a nice practice to have for the week, and even though it's the highest level, but it also fuels where we're at today. So first, renunciation. What's renunciation? And renunciation, to enter this path, is really this sense. A sense of renunciation is that I just am no longer satisfied at any level with conditioned existence. There's nothing here that is going to hold me. There's nothing in this worldly desires that really bear any fruit for me. It is my focus is to be liberated from all this. My focus is to be free of all suffering. My focus is to have a mind that's clear and recognizes who I am and recognizes the nature of reality, and be liberated from a conditioned mind driven by karma that impels me to impulses and desires and habits and worries and fears and concerns and really wonderfully addictive things that are actually the seeds of my suffering. But it feels so good right now. And if I just had some more, maybe I'd be happy. That delusional aspect of mind that is looking for these temporary things and fuels more attachment and aversion and keeps us here time after time after time after time. So renunciation is really recognizing that there's nothing here outside of yourself that's going to provide you any lasting happiness. There's nothing but dukkha present, unsatisfactoriness. And what we mistake so much as pure joy is often an absence of suffering, which is an interesting thing. And that joy that we feel in those moments, they don't last. They just don't last. Whether it's the feeling and care of another, that little puppy dog we're petting, or the banana split over in the Red Rock Diner. Not going to last. Everyone that we come in contact with will come and go. And we don't say this as though we should be pessimistic or, life sucks. A renunciant, by understanding the nature of reality and the nature of dukkha, is actually one who's much more able to engage in life with others without, as Tenzin Priyadarshi on the weekend put, a transactional mind. A transactional mind. I'll do this because I get that. I like them because they treat me like that. I'll work because they pay me for this. a very transactional mind in all of our relationships. It's limiting. A renunciate understands the transitory nature of things and doesn't get caught up in the attachment to an outcome, but rather focuses on the activity itself, on its own nature. So we do things that we feel good about because they're things that we feel are right, not for reward. And we endure difficulties because we know in the long run it's better for us, not because we're keeping score. We face difficult times and have the opportunity to grow from them. So actually a renunciance, not some disengaged thing, but by understanding the nature of the transient aspects of happiness and sadness and despair and joy and friends and work and job and the nature of existence, that nothing out there is actually going to provide you lasting happiness. It's just not. It can't. It's impossible. And that is not Buddhist even. I mean, it is Buddhist in nature, but, that's just truth. Whether you're into physics, whether you're into science, whether you read the great philosophers. I mean, it's just the nature of things. Everything comes together and falls apart. Everything's impermanent. Every relationship you have will come and go. We will come and go. We age. Every pleasure will come and go. And so understanding this, and if we see it for what it is, then we can ask ourselves, what's the best way to make use of this life? And so a renunciate does not get caught up, does not get attached, doesn't get hooked into these wonderful, delicious, delusional attachments. And because they're not attached, they can enjoy them. You can actually love somebody. You can actually love somebody without measuring how much good they're going to do for you. You can love them as another being that, just like you, wants happiness and wants to avoid suffering. So when we talk about renunciation, we talk about dukkha and unsatisfactoriness. It's not some morbid view that keeps you distant. It's actually one that allows you to engage in life in a much more meaningful way. So if we can enter into this, if we can start to see how much time and energy we put into worldly concerns, really just trying to make the life I have less suffering. That's doable. It's doable. I mean, ultimately, you're going to suffer, right? And you're going to have some nice moments, but it's going to come and go. But unfortunately, most of that is out of our control, right? The common sort of reference points, I think, most of the exterior world is out of our control. I don't know if I'll get struck by lightning. I don't know if somebody will hit me in a car. I don't know what the price of gas will be tomorrow. I don't know so much about what's going to happen. I don't know who's going to be elected in the next election. There's so much in this world I have no control over. We don't have control over how our kids are going to grow up. We don't have control, just all these things. And we try to, don't we? We really try to. I want to get the job that's secure. It's going to last, and all that stuff that we put time and energy. So the 8 worldly concerns, just a quick refresher. They're really the opposites of 4, right? So this is our primary driving force in conditioned existence. Gain and loss. We we work to get what we want, and we try to avoid losing it. We're really happy when we get what we want, be it a new jacket and, new pair of shoes. I'm hoping for a new pair of cargo pants. I think that's what I would wear all the time if I could have enough. But we like it when we get what we want, and we try not to lose them, right? We're not happy when we lose them. So we put a lot of energy around getting what we want and trying not to lose it. pain and pleasure. This one's a no-brainer, right? We're trying to have some pleasurable experiences and trying to avoid painful ones. Makes sense. Good reputation. Well, actually, I'll go with praise and criticism next. Praise and criticism, right? We really like it when people praise us. We don't like it when people criticize us. And then good reputation, bad reputation. Often it's called like fame. But it's really just a good reputation in the sense I would like others to look at me like I'm valuable. And I'm not very happy when they think I'm an idiot. So combined, this is really the hooks of worldly life. And we're in it from the moment we wake up. The moment we wake up, what's going to make me feel good? What should I have for breakfast? What am I going to wear today? What will others think of me if I do this? Does this match? Does this match? You know, my hair. Imagine how many hours you've spent on your hair in your life. Best thing ever happened to me was being a monk. You know, I got rid of my hair. It was so easy after that. But think about haircuts and money and shampoo and time and just... We're caught in that cycle from the moment we wake up, and what we share, and not wanting to look like an idiot, you know, and not wanting to look stupid, and wanting to be a part of something and connect. So these 8 worldly concerns are just our driving force. And in themselves, they don't have to be a harmful thing, right? I think that pleasurable experiences over unpleasurable I would take in a minute. But where it comes in contact is that's where I put all my energy without understanding that the path of ethics, our foundational opening of all spiritual of experience and growth and nurturing, is living ethically in a clear way, regardless of whether I'll get what I want or lose it, regardless of what you'll think about me, regardless of, you know, whether it's difficult. We let that go down, we take a path. And so a renunciant drops that and focuses on the path that's going to lead to a clear mind, gets away from our 3 poisonous attitudes and the grasping and aversion that really locks us down. And the antidote to attachment and aversion is where we are now. Equanimity. So as we enter, now that's renunciation. That's really a desire to be liberated for ourselves. Now I start looking at where I am on this path. Well, here we are at the highest level of a Mahayana practitioner. If we're going to go through either the 7-point cause and effect or equalizing, exchanging self with others, that's coming up. The baseline is equanimity. So that's where we're cultivating. And cultivating equanimity is the antidote to attachment and aversion, that grasping and aversion that we get caught up in. So what is this thing we call equanimity? And I think it's one of the most misunderstood concepts. It's a difficult one often to explain in some ways, and people get caught up and miss the mark. So first off, let me just kind of cover. So for bodhicitta, this idea of the 7-point cause and effect is that you spend some time on each point. You meditate on it. You think about it. We go to our 3 wisdoms, right? Remember 3 wisdoms? You hear the teaching on it. First wisdom. You contemplate it. You think about it. You discuss it. Does this make sense? Does that hold up? Is that true? You check it out. And then as you gain some confidence in that, then you meditate on it and let that settle in. So we go from a philosophical idea into a realization of each of these pieces. And the idea is that these 6, I know it's 0 is equanimity. 7. No, I can't say that way. So after the foundation, so equanimity, and then we go through each of these 6, and then the resulting 7th is bodhicitta. But we need to spend time on each one, and so the whole Lamrim that we've been teaching, the idea is that we give a talk one week, and you think about it, and you talk about it, and you meditate on it, and then you come to teaching next week. I'm certain everybody's been doing that, I know. But the same is true as we go through here, but it's much more than that. You can spend a lot of time. There's no rush in that sense. The depth of understanding is the key. So, equanimity. And equanimity is really trying to have a mind that is, I would say, that's able to rest in a sense of reality without attachment and aversion. Okay, to be able to be with the person in front of you, the things and events that are arising, with an equal level of attention and engagement. Whether I see someone that I have harsh feelings towards, or someone that I have these wonderful feelings towards, that I can have the same level of engagement and understanding with each. Ultimately, we want to get to where every being you have contact with is just as important as the next one. So I usually throw out there that in my own particular mind, and where I work with and I come from in my personal practice, is thinking that, is there any reason I should love you any less than I love my granddaughters or my daughters? Is there any reason? And I've never found a reason. And that's really equanimity, is going to be the ability to engage with everyone and everything, every event, every activity in your life with the same level of engagement. So we have attachment and aversion. We have things we like and things we don't like. We've got people we like and people we don't like. There's people we can't stand to be in a room with, and people we love to be in a room with. And there's certain events that, oh my God, we don't like, and certain things we do like. So to work with equanimity is we want to start to see the world more accurately. That's where I start, with a sense of reality. The sense of reality. I'm going to pause just for a moment and just say, is it a little stuffy in here for some of you? You can crack a window or two, would you mind, Eric? Want people to be comfortable. In the monastery in South India and stuff, we're sweating like this, so I get used to it. But I've been trying to be mindful of everyone. So, with equanimity, is they usually start with this process, generally with others. Okay, with others, and we start asking ourselves the question: is somebody more valuable than someone else? What makes somebody my friend, and what makes somebody my enemy? What makes somebody I like? What makes somebody I don't like? Is it in that person? Or where is it? And so this is where we start. We start asking ourselves, here's someone I like, here's someone I don't like. Why do I like them? Why don't I like them? Anybody have any ideas?
Well, what about the person we like, and then maybe we don't like, and then maybe we like again?
Right, that's a phase 2. First, what would make us like someone for a moment? Right? You're getting to the next point, which is transient, right? Well, why would we like somebody? Think about a friend of yours. Why do you like them?
They make us feel good.
And why would they make us feel good?
back to us.
They might be kind to you, right? Somebody's kind to you. It's hard to not like someone who's kind to you.
It's all based on the stories made up about them and the judgments you have.
Yeah, so
You,
the story we tell about them, right? Because we tell wonderful stories about someone. Yeah, people we don't like.
Sometimes it's energetic. You're just attracted to that person's energy.
Okay, so you're attracted to someone's energy. Why do you think that would be? Why would that be, you think?
I just think that that's a reality. They may not have even said anything, and you just think, oh, you know, that's somebody I'd like to engage with.
Mm-hmm. Yeah. But there's something there.
it's a mental arousal.
There's something there.
You
Yes.
recognize things within that person that you see in yourself that you admire in yourself.
So you might see qualities that you admire, right? Yourself and others.
For me, you recognize those people that have stronger worldly attachments that you're talking about, and their inner, what you're talking about, like the energy, it doesn't radiate. So for me, it's harder to like or even connect with those people that have those attachments and are attached to everything. And you could even feel like when you're talking to them, you don't feel, you feel like they're on autopilot, you know, and it's hard to connect with them. So for me, that's how I recognize. I don't, for lack of a better word, I don't like those people because I can't connect with them. It's harder to connect with them.
Yeah.
Also history.
History.
If you have a lot of history with somebody.
Right. Sometimes you just have known somebody a long time, right?
Can't help it.
Yeah. So as we kind of start to dig a little deeper, one thing you might start to realize is the people we like tend to think the way we think, as you were just pointing out. And the people we don't like tend to not think the way we think. They have different political views. They have different motivations. They don't have my motivations. And wow, we start pausing and start thinking, wow, you know, I like people that I have some energetic connection with because I feel good. I feel connected. I don't have that with them. I don't like them. Don't want to be around them. Somebody has a different political view. What kind of idiot are they?
Does this somehow relate to getting validated, the I being validated?
Well, I would say the I is pretty strong in this. Because what you're going to notice is this whole world we're experiencing, the ones we like, we don't like. Some we don't, they're neutral, right? There's the neutral. Right? There's some we don't really, have one way or another. But it's all revolving around me. And what I like and what I don't like and what I think is important. I. And there becomes me and mine and you and yours. And I sometimes forget to equate something. I've done harmful things. I've been that attached person who is very focused on worldly things. It's been me. I've hurt people. That was me. And yet, if I were to judge others by what I've done, I don't like them. And they've done the very things I've done. So, when we want to start getting a more clear picture with others, as we understand that just like you, so the starting point, or we're all equal, is that everyone you meet, including animals, want happiness and want to avoid suffering, right? That's just the basis, everyone. So there's this really beautiful sort of, I don't know exactly how you call it, when they teach empathy or they teach this compassion, they have you go through this, it's a really common thing in compassion things. Just like me, others want happiness. Just like me, Others are trying to avoid suffering. Just like me, others have known sadness and despair. Just like me, others are trying to have their needs met. And just like me, others are trying to learn how to live. And it's a really nice reminder that just like me, everyone else out there is doing the best they can with what they have. And based on their environment, their level of suffering, their challenges is what they're showing up with. I do a quote every day, and I was looking through quotes, and a Carl Jung one came up, which was, healthy people don't torture others. Those who torture others have usually been tortured themselves in some way, emotionally or mentally or physically. And that's kind of the thing, right? People that inflict a lot of harm, they give what they have. People give what they have. If you have suffering and pain, guess what you give? If you have love and kindness, guess what you give? And too often we come in contact with someone doing something harmful or something we don't agree with or something that is opposite of me. And based on that thing, that one thing, they become that thing. Whether it be a jerk, an idiot, whatever they are. I don't know anything about how they spend the other 50 years of their life. I don't know how they were raised. I don't know what they do. I don't know how much they give to charity. I don't know any of this. But I saw them do this, and they become that thing. That kind of person. They're that kind of person. And that's what they are. When I see them, oh, I know him. That's so-and-so. And they're like this. We tell a story. We tell a story based on their political affiliation, right?
Bumper stickers.
Yeah, bumper stickers. Right? We know what kind of people they are. And that category becomes them. And we don't know anything. And then we forget to think, well, what about ourselves? How much have you changed in your life? Man, I'll tell you what. Thank God I changed. 'Cause, yeah, it was a fast road to nowhere. And others can change. And others do change. As we all change. And so when we kind of put our toe in the water, we want to start recognizing, mostly when I'm saying someone's worthy and not worthy, I'm saying it. I'm the center of the universe, and everybody else either is, in line with me and my values or not. And the ones that aren't, I got no time for. Or they're not benefiting me. They're not helpful to me. And so there we have attachment and aversion to people, to being around people, to avoiding certain people. But this also applies to everything in our life all the time. There are things we get really attached to, and there's things we really want to avoid. And they can become just so quick. And how many times do you think, wow, I better get this, I miss out on this opportunity. I gotta do this, or I'm going to miss out on that opportunity, this trip, or that happening. There's going to be some tickets, and what if I don't get them? As if your life would not go on. And a month later, you may not even be thinking about that. But in that moment of attachment aversion. So equanimity is learning to understand and experience the attachment and aversion and allow it to come and go. Sitting in equanimity says, wow, even being hungry, have you ever noticed when you've been hungry? And you're really hungry. I mean, there's a strong, that, if you just let it sit for a while, that hunger will go away. It does. I mean, don't wait a month, but you can wait an hour, right? You can wait a couple hours. It will come and go. That impulse to really need or see that thing or do that activity, what if I didn't get the ride in on this day, Well, there's lots of days we haven't done that, and you'll still be okay. The satisfaction that you get out of that worldly concern will not last. And it only creates a need for more. And a suffering when it's not there. So it's this cycle we get on. Feeding off worldly concerns. And things that can't provide lasting happiness. So equanimity is much more about living in reality, knowing that these impulses, desires, and things, they come and they go, but they're not who you are. They're not who you are. And if we can start to bring equanimity even into our activities, the best dessert ever. Really? So-and-so is a really good person. So-and-so is a really big jerk. Neither are true. Just as a matter of fact. Do you know any truly good people? And by that I mean someone who's never hurt anyone. Someone who's never lied. No. I don't know, Dalai Lama, There's a couple of these people up here, but in general. Most of us, when we say so-and-so is a good person, well, that good person is also capable of hurting others, of being a little jealous, of being somewhat resentful, of doing some things we don't feel so good about. The people that we label as bad people, well, I bet you they did some good stuff. I bet you they helped their mom out. I bet you they may have done their chores. I bet you, when they were a little kid, they wanted to have an opportunity to be something in this world. I've never met the human being in my life that wanted to be a bad person. Just have not. Now, I've met a lot of people who have done a lot of harm. I mean, really hurt people. But when you talk to them, when you visit with them, you'll see that in their environment and how they grew up and the situations, they were tortured themselves, they were abused themselves, they were hurt themselves, and they didn't know how to have these things arise in their life. And then there's all the people that did a lot of harm that become really wonderful people, right? Which is prompting a quote that just came out of, I think. So, one of my favorite quotes was, every saint has a past, and every sinner has a future. Every saint has a past, and every sinner has a future. We all have this potential. So when we start with equanimity with beings, and this includes animals as well, and all beings, is the idea that we all have Buddha nature. We all have the quality of enlightenment. And if we can start to attend to others with that level, that everyone is valuable. Everyone in this room is somebody's mother, daughter, brother, sister, aunt, uncle, grandkid, grandparent. And the only thing that makes them really different from me is how my mind labels them. I don't know their story. And if you sat down and heard their story, it may be pretty interesting. The other piece that we forget sometimes is that whatever somebody else is saying, even though it's completely insane from our point of view, makes sense to them. It makes sense to them. Their worldview makes sense to them. Based on their experiences, how they were raised, the culture they were raised in, the environment they're raised in, and how they see the world. It makes sense to them. It doesn't make sense to me. But the way I see the world today, I'll tell you what, is a lot different than I saw it 5 years ago. So one of the most powerful realizations I've had in my life around equanimity is we're all wrong. And it's just so much easier. You know, we're all wrong. I'm wrong. If I could see the nature of reality, I'd be enlightened. I'm not. And so I'm seeing everything through a clouded lens of my own perception, experiences, karma, and klesha. And so I'm wrong too. And that way it just takes the energy out of it. So, you know, wow, coming from their view, they're seeing the world this way. Well, from mine, I'm seeing it this way. And if I start to look at our common pieces, I might be able to interact with this other being in a way that's meaningful. What's the best way for us to interact? And then there's this other thing. If you start treating others as valuable, it's amazing how that relationship can change. So there's the other piece that was being brought up. And it was you who brought it up. Well, what about the people who are our friends, and then now I don't like them? Or the people I really didn't like, and now I do like them. Or the people I've liked, and then disliked, and then liked, and then disliked. Those long-term relationships that come in and out. Well, you'll notice they'll tend to be based on how they treated me or what went on. And when someone does something really harmful and betrayal on us or to us, right? They become that person. And I've got no use for them. You're nothing to me anymore. Well, what about the 100 wonderful things they did when they were our friends? Are they those things, or are they just this thing? Right? So you can see how our mind makes things really concrete, labels the qualities, judges a person, and that's what they are. And then they stay that way. And if they did something 10 years ago that I didn't like, every time I see them, you know what they are? They're that thing they did 10 years ago, as if they've frozen in time. They're that jerk who did that one thing to that kid. And like they could possibly, there's nothing that would have changed. Our mind is a funny place. And so when we want to start focusing on this equanimity, and that's our task for the week, is to try to engage with everyone and everything with an equal, so equality, equanimity, equality. And that doesn't mean I like everyone, and it doesn't mean everybody's healthy, and it doesn't mean I'm a doormat, and it doesn't mean I accept unhealthy behavior. It means that I recognize when somebody's doing harmful things, and I deal with the thing they're doing without labeling the person good or evil. They're just human. And I deal with the event, and I'm not taking it personally. We imagine being able to deal with the chores at work we don't like with the same level of attention we engage in the ones we do like. And what is it that causes us to like or dislike a task at work? Mostly you're going to find it's your attitude about it. You know, one of my realizations early on is when I was an auto mechanic, working in cars, you know, like lifting up transmission, getting your arm wrenched, and it's hot and it's sweaty and it's physical, and I was sitting there thinking, this is really hard. And then I was playing basketball once, and I was thinking, you know, I expend a lot more energy playing basketball than I do being an auto mechanic. And the only difference was I liked basketball. And so I started to bring that mind to the car and think about, hey, I get to fix something. I get to help someone have transportation. And bringing that in level of interest, it was no longer work. And it was half the energy of playing basketball. Basketball wore me out. It's our mind. We keep coming back to our mind, and that's what we want to work with, is our mind. We're going to find that if we engage in this level of equanimity, it's our mind that's labeling and judging and placing qualities on people, events, and activities that aren't true. It's just not true. And once we start to see the delusional nature of it, it's so much more easier to engage. It's so much easier to engage. But you need to examine to see if it's true or not. And we don't say it's true or not because somebody says it's true or it's not, or it's in a book somewhere. You have to experience it. Is it true? Is this person inherently an evil jerk? Are they really? Is that their core? Or are they capable of doing something meaningful? And are they somebody else's child? Are they somebody else's brother or sister? Do they have hopes and dreams? Are they just like me? Do they want happiness? Do they want to avoid suffering? Have they known despair and sadness? Are they trying to have their needs met? Are they trying to learn how to live? And see if that's true or not. So this foundational piece is also with people, but also with activities and food, right? Food's an easy one for me, as you guys are pretty aware of. How much time and energy do we put into this delicious meal? And how much suffering if it isn't just the way I wanted it? You know? And how much could just a piece of bread with butter feel good if it's just warm just so? And don't they both meet a need? And where is this value? And why would I spend $100 on this and $5 on this? And can I simplify and spend $5 here and be just as happy? Is that true? I don't know. You have to investigate. Where do we put all of our time and energy? And where's the reward in the process? You have this life. This is the 18, when we think about the 18 qualities of a rare and precious human rebirth, a rebirth that can lead to enlightenment. How are you spending your time? Are we distracted and caught up in attachment and aversion? Or are we bringing some equanimity to life to ask myself, what's the most meaningful way to live today? What's the way to make the best use of the life that I have? What is going to add value to my life and others? What's meaningful? And how much time and energy am I putting in that? Or how much time and energy am I putting into distraction and attachment and aversion and pleasurable experiences? That'll come and go. And at the end of the day, when this life ends, at the end of the day, when your life ends, and that could be today, it could be tomorrow, we don't know. Could be 80 years from now, who knows? Death is certain, time and death uncertain. That's just truth. We forget this. It's back in our preliminary practices early on. We really put off stuff till tomorrow. At the time of death, there's only one thing that'll help you. There's only one thing. And that's how you lived your life. It's the karma we created. Are we cultivating wisdom? Are we cultivating merit? Are we creating conditions to see who we are? To see and live in reality? How many times do we spend in the evening thinking about how I lived today? What did I do that was meaningful, and what did I do that was harmful? I bet we know how much is in our bank account. How much money is in each savings account. But how much are we paying attention to how much merit I'm creating? Or how many qualities I'm creating? So, in this sense, this is really the idea that I don't want to waste this day. I don't want to get sucked into distraction, attachment, and aversion. And, we have time that we have to work. We have things we have to do. And we have this precious time somewhere between sleep and other obligations. What are we doing with our life? Can I engage in life in a way at work and in my waking hours that's accurate, that's going to make it meaningful? And equanimity is that antidote. It's equanimity that understands that if I am engaging in activity that's difficult, that's suffering, that's painful, well, that is my opportunity to grow, right? Because that's when we grow, right? Anybody ever get a great, strong, deep spiritual and personal revelation out of any other place than suffering and difficulty and challenge? It's possible, but it's not common. It's possible. But generally, you'll find that what brings you to Dharma centers and what brings you to developing yourself is a dissatisfaction. It's an uncomfortable thing. It's a problem. It's seeing the nature of some difficulties in your lives and others. That's what makes us grow. And that's when we do our biggest growth. So if I have equanimity, the challenges in my life become the opportunities to grow. I meet that with the same level of engagement as I do the joyful experiences. So fixing the car, playing basketball can have that same level of attention. Engaging with another human being that is challenging is my opportunity to cultivate my highest potentials. There's no other way. There is no other way for you to develop tolerance and patience. Right? How are you going to develop tolerance and patience if everybody's cool? It just doesn't happen. So within Tibetan Buddhism, they'll talk about Dalai Lama's even said, most people are, they're not that much of your friend. They're just nice to you. There's a handful of people who really are jerks to you. They're your friends. They're the ones that give you the opportunity to grow. They're the ones who are showing up and seeing what you're attached to.
Can I ask a question?
Yeah.
So where does not being a doormat come in?
Yeah. So, okay. Let me just finish. So, as people, and then we'll come to that. So, as people push our buttons and we have stress and that's our opportunity to say, well, who is it that's stressed and why are they stressed and what am I attached to? I mean, these are the realization moments that come. So if we bring wisdom into our life, if we bring equanimity into our life, and I say that we recognize people as all having Buddha nature, I also mentioned that doesn't mean we discount what people do, right? This is not, I'm a doormat. If you're a doormat, is that compassionate in any way? No. If you're a doormat, you are empowering someone to inflict pain. Compassion is, I want to remove pain. So doormats are not compassion in any way, shape, or form. Doormats enable a behavior that creates suffering, not only to oneself, but to the person who's inflicting the suffering. So when we allow or enable people to do harmful things, it's the opposite of compassion. You're allowing suffering to happen. Compassion is, I don't want people to suffer, so I am willing to do the work to remove suffering in myself and others. So that means boundaries can be very compassionate. It means that I'm going to respond to the activity, and maybe it's a boundary, maybe it's doing something, I don't know a particular situation, but whatever that situation is, responding maybe sometimes a little bit forcefully to the action, not the person. If I think the person's the evil person, and then I'm acting out of anger, and I think they're less than me. Versus there's another human being who's doing some pretty harmful things, and clearly they're suffering, that's why you do harmful things. Nobody is yelling or angry because they're happy. It just doesn't work that way. People hurt others because they're hurt. So as soon as somebody's doing things, compassion can arise. You see their suffering, and you respond to the activity. You respond to the activity, and you see their suffering. And the question is, what's the most beneficial way to respond for myself and others here? So no way of being a doormat is helpful. And boundaries can be the most compassionate thing. Does that make sense?
Yeah, it definitely does.
Yeah. So in each interaction, there can be an interaction of two beings, and the question is, what's the most beneficial thing I can do for both of us? We're both valuable. The root of our conditioned existence and suffering is, I'm more important than you. It's that simple. I'm just damn more important than you. And as long as I'm more important than you, I just came in conflict with what, 7 billion other humans plus all the animals. But when I am with you and a part of this web of life, and recognize my dependence upon you, and as we're going into, actually recognize you're more important than me, then everything shifts. Then it's not me and mine and you and yours, it's ours. And now I can respond to others in a way that's most beneficial. Now, philosophically, we can get this. It's hard to do. Okay, it's hard to do. And so that's why the assignment, that's why I really would love to go through these 7 pieces 1 week at a time, if we can. And so my request to you is to just try every day. Just try every day to see if you can bring some equanimity into the contact you have with others, to some of the events you have, right? Noticing a really strong attachment to a particular food that's not there, and maybe just having what is there, and maybe noticing it was okay. Noticing your attachments and how strong they are, and can you, and it's okay to fulfill it, but maybe sit with it for a moment, you know? Attachments are funny things, right? So if I start talking about popcorn and the smell of popcorn, have you ever had that smell of popcorn, the butter, and it starts just filling the space of the room, and it's comfort food to me. I really like it. Well, just talking about it can get you hungry, can it? And before I mentioned popcorn, you were fine. But somebody says popcorn. I smell popcorn, the butter. I put nutritional yeast on there, a little sea salt. It's good, huh? Before we say that, there's nothing in our mind. But the mind here's popcorn, butter, nutritional yeast, sea salt. Attachment. And then I'm doing something. And this mind's just dragging us around all day. And so here we just want to say, well, what happens if I don't act on that and choose to do what's healthy and meaningful without my impulse and my desires dragging me around? And so this is where equanimity is kind of that pause between attachment and aversion. This person's, it's amazing how, oops, I'm actually getting out of time. So maybe I'm just going to pause there. And just invite you this week to just notice, are some of your friends capable of doing things that you don't feel good about? And are some of the people you don't like capable of doing things that you do feel good about? And are there people you don't know that you pass on the street that can become your friend? So friends, strangers, and they call them enemies, but by enemies it's just people we don't like. People we like, people we don't really know, and people we do like. You'll notice those are just labels. They're just labels. And the person we like today can be the person we hate tomorrow. And the person we don't like today can be the person we like. The person we don't know can become the friend. The person we don't know can be the person I don't like. They're just labels. And the only one making the labels is us. Because those qualities are not in that person. They're not intrinsically in that person. Those person do things that are harmful. They do things that are helpful. I do things that are harmful. I do things that are helpful. I love to tell everybody, we're in a room full of liars, aren't we? You guys are liars, man. You're also truthers. We do all this stuff, and so does everybody else. But we can have an impact on others by the way we interact with them. And they can have an impact on us, and they do. They allow us to cultivate our highest potentials. What a gift. What a gift. Yeah.
I don't know if it was a quote today from a monk saying something about how objects are just innocent, and it's what we're attached to that gives them some meaning or label.
Tenzin Palmo quote that was posted in the Way of Compassion Dharma group.
Yeah. So I guess people and all animals then are also innocent. They're empty or innocent of any sort of.
Right. All phenomena outside of yourself are empty of these qualities and characteristics that we project upon them. We experience the world just the way the world is, and this is just physics. Okay, it's not. The world outside of ourselves is subjective and relational. That's just the way it is. The world outside of ourselves is subjective and relational. It's subjective. The way I experience will be different than how you experience it. That's just the way it is. And it's relational. Is that a tall tree? Well, only in relation to a short tree. Right? Is that an old person in relation to what? What's a young person? What's in relationship to what? The world we have and all these labels, we fill in. It's not in those things. So that's kind of the thing. So animals, humans, trees are all phenomena. They're empty. And you know, we have that talk about how karma and emptiness relate. And we've had that talk a few times. But we can never have it enough. So, but if I bring my mind back to reality again and again, I can start to notice that what I really get worked up around emotionally is based on something that's not true. I really think that if this person's in my life, I will be happy forever. Right? And I really think that if I get this job, I'll have it made. Good luck finding that world. It doesn't exist. So it's just the mind telling stories. So we want to bring our mind to reality, which says, hey, here's some people who are healthier to have in my life who can support a life that's meaningful. And here's some people maybe are not so healthy to have in my life. But they're just as valuable people, and they're just teaching us different things. So let's start there with equanimity. All right, and we'll get ready to do a dedication. One comment I was going to make. So July 20th was the anniversary of the first turning of the wheel of Dharma. And so it's one of the 4 major Buddhist holidays. Really incredible, auspicious day, the first teaching of the Buddha and the 4 Noble Truths. And so there are these precious days that come and go, and I try to post them, but we've got like 3 calendars there in the back, the Buddhist nun calendar. Some of you may have bought them. They have all these holidays. They have the auspicious days. They have the things like that. So there's only a few. We're in July, so August. Some months left, but in case you are interested in keeping track of those, we have like 3 of those left. And I'm not pitching them to sell a calendar. I'm just saying that sometimes it might be nice to know these days, you know, that are a little, they have some significance in that sense. So I'll try to get those every year. But also I'm letting you know that I'll try to post those types of things, like I guess in the Dharma group on Facebook and stuff. So just to try to get that word out there more, just so you know. Every day is a good day to be cultivating a life. So it's not like this day's and that day. I always say people always get caught up in sort of this astrology. I always say it's never a bad day to do the right thing. It's always a good time right now. So don't get too caught up in all that. But for those who are interested, because it was asked. So, okay, let's go ahead and do a little dedication. Dedicating the merit and virtue we have accumulated here today and through our lives for the benefit of all beings. Let us dedicate the virtue and wisdom we have accumulated here today and throughout our lives, both individually and collectively. Dedicate this for the benefit of all beings. May all beings be free of suffering and find lasting happiness. And may we be able to purify our own minds, cultivate a path to enlightenment for the benefit of all beings. All right, thank you all so much. May you be well and filled with equanimity throughout your week, and try to stay out of trouble in the process.